Good afternoon, everyone. This is Aaron Davis, and we are back with another late installment of the unemployment series. Um, I hope those who can y'all hear me okay? Okay, good. I hope those who have been keeping up with me have enjoyed my daily briefs. I'm going to hopefully keep those coming for you guys on a consistent basis. And with that said, I'm going to move on into the first subject of our discussion as we speak. uh, for all my search marketers out there, this is one that I wanted to highlight as it greatly affects what we do on a consistent basis. Google has clarified some of their smart bidding updates for us, and I'm interested to see how things are going to shape up with this latest update. According to Google, your ads are about to get a little bit more honest, and that might break your business if you're not ready. So, to get yourselves ready, here's what is happening. Google is rolling out a smart bidding overhaul on August 17th. That forces budget limited campaigns to actually hit the targets you set, not the better numbers you've actually been silently getting. So if your target CPA is about $10, but you've been converting at $5, expect about half of your conversions to disappear overnight. Okay. If you do not act now, that's exactly what you're going to see happen after that August 17th date. I can almost guarantee it. But with that said, I think with that expectation, Google has dropped the bid target adjustment tool. They did that on July 6th to kind of help, forecast how this is going to start making changes within the Google Ads format. I'm sorry, within their platform, but not just blindly hitting apply. We want to cross reference it with real 90-day data first. So this update hits search, it hits shopping, performance max, demand gen, and travel. It is basically forcing the account to audit every lazy target that has sitting untouched for the past year. So if you haven't really been monitoring your targets that well, this would be the time to do so, and I would do so expeditiously, especially with that target date coming up pretty soon. You're going to want to make sure you have those things in order. If not, you need to adjust your strategy accordingly. You need to set your targets, I would say, months ahead of time so that you don't forget about them and miss this deadline and start to see a decrease in your overall performance. Everyone else is going to be covering this, saying update your targets by August 17th. And while that's all well and good, Google is really forcing you to a long overdue account hygiene check. So, that being said, I wouldn't wait for this to come around. I would start making your adjustments now. Most advertisers don't need to know that their campaigns are lying to them. They already know that there's something else out there that needs to be adjusted. Keep your eyes on those close bid targets. Don't rely solely on Google's bid target adjustment tool recommendation. That's going out the window. So you're going to want to cross-reference against your actual 90-day window for that CPA or that target ROAS data before hitting the apply button. So, and that goes with any of the, of course, recommendations that Google provides us. We always want to make sure we double check how this is going to affect it and, what type of uninformed consequences might come from this. If you're, I think really it's kind of like a ghost efficiency. If we're celebrating, hey, that $5 CPA while your target was actually $10 and nobody asked why, that's where things can get a little muddy. So that's the not optimization; it's just neglect of the good results. So pay close attention to how things are looking, and also, the bid target adjustment tool is your way of saying we know the account is a mess, but we built you a crutch. So don't rely on that, but and also don't trust it blindly. Make sure you're actually auditing the data that you're looking at. Automated recommendations are great and all, but they're built on the same lagging data that got you to where you are. So you need to be careful. Google does not care about your Q3 goals. They care about the number you typed in that target field. So think about it that way. If you typed in a number that made sense 18 months ago, and you haven't necessarily made adjustments to that, or maybe your product or service is surpassed that particular goal, do an audit of the most recent months, see what you haven't touched in that 18-month time frame, what's changed, what's improved, and what's dropped off the map. So all those things can be liabilities if you're not paying close attention to them. And every campaign type matters as well. Don't neglect search just because you spend a lot more in shopping. If you're doing all of these things, if you're doing performance max, if you're doing demand gen, even travel, there's nowhere to hide from this change. So with that being said, if you run Google Ads and you have not heard about this update yet, we'll just clip this, make sure that that is the content that you are following, and you're staying up to date on how these things are changing from a frequent basis, because Google isn't always going to give us the signs that we need. They might put out a press release, they might put out an article through search engine journal or whatever, but if you're not paying close attention to these changes as they happen, and you're not adjusting your campaign goals accordingly, you're going to get left in the dark. You're going to get left behind. So I would recommend for all my search marketers out there to do an audit of your campaigns and see which ones will be most affected by some of these changes in smart bidding. So I'll leave that there, and I'll move on to the next article that I really wanted to touch on was one that I found this afternoon. I think it's been out for about the past week, but I just now located it, so I'm going to talk about it now. It's from Forbes. Now, Forbes has told us that AI is not going to replace everyone, but that's not necessarily all the good news. So to kind of summarize what this article is telling us is AI isn't taking every job, which it feels like that. I understand. Trust me, the Unemployment Podcast, this is what I discuss on a frequent basis. This is what I've been talking with people about, and it's a big issue in the industry right now. But from what Forbes is saying, what this article says, it's just AI isn't taking every job. It's just taking the ones that used to teach you how to do the rest of the jobs. And so what that means is, and from my perspective, a lot of the lower levels, the lower rungs on the ladder are being eliminated. So PwC analyzed over 1 billion job ads across 27 countries, and here's what they found. The roles were basically AI augment experts who work hard on a growing faster and paying more. So the entry-level jobs that got people through the door, the ones that got me my first marketing position, and the mid-skill, the white-collar workers who work the hardest, who do some of the grunt work, who pull the reporting, who pull the data, who build the dashboards. Those junior hires now need senior judgment from day one. They need, there's nobody there to really give you a hand or look over your shoulder. If your business or your skill set isn't built around augmentation, you're competing on a price alone, and you will lose. So just a little perspective on that. You're competing on a price, and the older workers are choosing retirement rather than retraining, a lot of them, to be honest with you. And I'm kind of getting close to that part of life right now, to be honest. The institutional knowledge disappears forever. Once that happens, especially a lot of the people that have been in their positions for a long time, the ladder didn't get shorter. You just removed some of those bottom rungs of that ladder. And that's really concerning too, because how are you going to continue to fill some of these roles? How are you going to continue to train the AI or just like you would train some of the junior associates. And that's the part that's really baffling to me is legacy ad agencies, they don't necessarily reposition around AI augmentation within the next 18 months. They'll be forced to, compete purely on the price, and they will not survive the fight against offshore competition, especially when offshore companies, offshore agencies have kind of made it easier for them to save money on human workers. The agencies that thrive will look less like ad shops and look more like AI powered strategy boutiques. So, how are you positioning yourself? How are you positioning your agency? What story are you really trying to tell? As it relates to myself, I built a business without necessarily a junior team, or having entry level hires. It's just me here, to be honest with you, but which accidentally made this a moment for a lot of larger agencies who have those lower levels that are not necessarily as required as they used to be. I remember a lot of the agencies I used to work for would have marketing interns, so just so they could learn different parts of the agency life. They would be able to kind of, test and see and work with different people and different, whether it be programmatic, or paid search or social, and they'd get experience in all those different avenues during the summer. And they get to go back and kind of really hone in on what their coursework is going to be, what they really enjoyed doing, what they really didn't like doing, and making a decision on how they wanted to live and work, but also having that ability to say, hey, I've already done some work with your organization. If you're looking for any new hires, or if you're looking for any new search associates or social associates, or any new data people, they would bring those interns back in or offer them positions at the lower level, and they would be able to start their jobs from there. Now it's not the same as it used to be. It's that those are not as frequent as what I've seen lately in the past few years. If your agency's value proposition is execution, you're basically obsolete at this moment. So you haven't just gotten the layoff notice yet. It's coming. So small business owners who kind of run their own ads and do everything on their own and wore every hat are more AI ready than a lot of these other marketing managers at big companies are. Because there's not necessarily a need to lay off. It's just a one-stop shop. Necessity is built. The skill set in the industry is now paying off a premium for. So entry-level marketing jobs, they weren't jobs. They were just, how the industry reproduced itself. Now, once you kill that entry-level position and you don't save money on salaries, you stop growing that next generation of strategists. That's basically what happens. There's nobody there filling that void, and AI can only do so much, in my opinion. If you're still hiring based on whether a candidate knows the tools or you're solving last year's problem, that's just it. The question is whether can you think or judge and how do you direct the AI? AI already knows the tools, but what type of judgment are you bringing to the table? What type of nuance are you able to bring to the table? What type of soft skills do you have that AI cannot necessarily replicate when working with large scale clients, some of these enterprise related clients that need some of that hand holding? That AI, of course, is kind of clunky doing. AI isn't flattering in the org chart. It's removing the bottom rungs entirely, and meaning a lot of those junior marketing roles now need some, senior level judgment behind them, or else there's not a whole lot of value there for those people, unfortunately. And that's the way it looks as of right now. But it's disappointing to see some of these people getting laid off. Microsoft just last week cut 4,800 jobs, about 2.1% of their overall workforce. Based on this article, some of these risks that I think a lot of companies are making by making these drastic layoffs and these drastic, workforce changes before really knowing what AI is capable of doing for the long term. The numbers might look good. Yeah, they might look good as far as saving, but how much are you really saving when some of those tokens start to add up? And you realize maybe I need some of those, some of those human beings back to save me some money on all these expensive tokens. And now, it's almost like a catch-22. It's like, okay, you didn't want to pay the employees, but now you're having to pay this AI exorbitant amounts just to maintain status quo. And is it really maintaining status quo on the back end? Or are you losing a lot of that human effect, some of that human nuance, when you take away that human element from your workforce? And I guess that remains to be seen. Time will tell. Uh, the last piece that I really wanted to discuss before I move a whole lot further is related to local service ads. If you haven't found them already, let me pull up my resources here just a moment. Let's see. So, as search marketers, this is another big update within our industry. One of the things I think a lot of people are interested to see how it's going to affect their roles is um, people, especially if those affected with from an SEO standpoint. I think this will probably have the biggest impact on their day-to-day life, which is local services ads. Google has kind of changed the way these LSAs are being found. And now they have been transitioned over into the Google Ads platform, which there was kind of already separate. And I know that sounds confusing to those who may not be aware or familiar with Google Ads and how it operates, but local service ads was kind of outside the overall Google Ads UI. But now through Performance Max, it's been re-implemented into the overall UI, so that people can see how some of these particular ads are kind of how they intertwine with one another. And I think the biggest thing that to point out is that beginning of August 2026, eligible advertisers will begin to manage their LSAs within the Google Ads UI. Now, the big thing about that is that ads will continue to appear on search and maps as they would. But the one thing that people aren't aware of is the fact that you're going to lose a lot of that search history. So some of that history that you had from LSAs being outside of the Google UI, that's no longer going to be present. And I think that's probably the most important thing that needs to be highlighted here is if you rely a lot on local service ads, which I know a lot of small businesses do, it's going to be important for you to kind of make this migration in a smart way so that you can download that data and transition it over into Google Ads UI if possible. That's one thing that I'm still trying to research a little further to see if some of this rollout is going to entail a way for us to kind of sync some of that previous data, historical data. If you don't sync that data, I know that Google Business Profile will automatically kind of update the campaigns and business details as needed, which is fine. But if you don't have some of that historical context, some of that historical data for reference, it might impact some of your performance if you're not careful. So in this transition, especially for a lot of my local service businesses, whether you're a barbershop, a lawn service, laundry service, whatever that may be, make sure if you're using this or if you have somebody, an agency or somebody who's working for you that helps you place these local service ads, to have them audit this information, go through the Google Ads interface if you don't already have it set up, and make sure that your ads are showing up as expected. I know a lot of this is kind of confusing and hard to kind of understand, especially for a lot of my small business owners. But the the main point here is that I think overall it will be a positive. The centralized management is actually a win if you use it right. So having the budgets, the leads, the call tracking all in Google Ads instead of a separate dashboard is genuinely better for anyone running multiple campaigns. The opportunity here is not to get your Google Ads account organized now, so you are basically not scrambling after this migration happens, and that's the most important thing to keep in mind. So before you panic, the core LSA model stays intact. There's no keywords, there's no pay per valid lead only, and the it's still run exclusively through search and maps. However, Google slapped the Performance Max label on it. So now the way it works for you mostly is the same, but the biggest change is where you manage it. So outside of that, I think hopefully this change makes things a little more seamless for some people. Google is moving your LSAs for local business owners. However, like I said, the historical data does not transfer. So you have to download it before the transition is gone. Make sure you mark your calendars, do that as soon as possible. Work with your vendors, whoever's, placing your LSAs. Ensure that. Second, also, do not let Performance Max name scare you. I know a lot of times that can get overwhelming for people who aren't familiar if you're just running LSAs alone and that's all you need to do. But the first thing you need to know is that historical data doesn't transfer, that Performance Max will work in your benefit. And like I said, make sure you download everything before it gets to that transition time frame. The last piece is everything lives in one place now. So the budgets, the leads, the calls. If you have a Google account and it's organized, this becomes basically an upgrade to what you are already doing. But if this is, something new to you, if Google Ads is still fairly foreign to what you've been doing, then I recommend, you either reach out to me, I can help you get things set up, or you can, like I said, download your data and start working with whoever your vendors are so that they can make sure that historical data is saved and used in an appropriate way. But with that said, I think I'm going to keep tonight's unemployment series brief. I'll close it with that. But anything else left to say as far as, some of the recent changes I've seen in Google? It's always an evolving type of framework. It's always an evolving platform. So I'll try to keep you as up to date on some of the latest and greatest as I see them, how I think they might impact businesses like yours. And if there's anything else that related to that needs to be referenced, I'll make sure I bring that up to you and keep you updated with the latest and greatest. In the meantime, keep an eye on my other social platforms. You can find me and my daily brief here on LinkedIn and TikTok, as well as YouTube Shorts. So please feel free to reach out if you have any needs for consulting, or if you're looking for anybody to help manage your paid media or speak with your marketing team. I'm happy to do so. Thank you and have a good evening.